This new era of X-Men from the ashes, their stories have been quite up and down. But when we talk about the peak, when we talk about the pinnacle, I genuinely believe that Uncanny X-Men is one of the best series that have come out of this said new era. More so because this new era of X-Men have been curated amazingly well, both in terms of individualism as their own independent characters and them coalesced as a team, the Uncanny team. The way they interact with each other has been done well. The way them as a group interact with the old generation of the team, be it Rogue, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, has been done perfectly well. Just the aspects that they can live on their own. I can genuinely see each one of these characters eventually getting their own solo run just off this series alone. That says a lot. In this very video, I'm going to be talking about each one of them as individuals, diving deep into their character to show why they've been portrayed so well and what makes the Uncanny X-Men run as good as it is, in my opinion. Starting with my favorite of the four, Hotoru, otherwise known as Deathdream. Show off the concept art first just so you can get a good general idea of his design as a character. As his name implies, he's heavily linked to death, which I'll be getting into soon. So a lot of the dark palette, deep shadowy figures is supposed to be reminiscent to his mutant ability. Now, a cool thing Marvel ended up doing is giving us these things called cerebro scans, practically info cards that give us quick synopses on the character and what we're expected to see from them. So if you want to hear what this whole yap session is about to be about when it comes to Hotoru, pause the read. Now let's get into that in-depth analysis. Deathdream, as his name implies, has the mutant ability to convene and manipulate the dead, using it both as a terms of energy as well as manipulating spirits of the afterlife. Being able to wield such an immense power like death seems like such an amazing mutant ability, but for Hotoru was nothing but shortcomings. He's experienced death after death after death ever since his birth. His connection with it is some of the most potent in all of Marvel, but again, at what cost? This mindset, this ideology, this connection to such a potent and devastating realm has twisted Hotoru's mind in some sense. He's become dull, he's become apathetic. He doesn't really see the value of life, well, at least until he ends up joining this team. Another cool thing to note before I get deeper into the development of his character is the fact that when he merges with the other side, when he merges with his ability of death, he's able to recall information of individuals like Nightcrawler despite never meeting them before. Meaning whatever spirit he's connected to, it expands damn near the entirety of the afterlife in order to just pull specific characters is wild. Let's push back that development a little bit because I want to talk more on Hotoru's powers. The fact that they have him going up against the Source Supreme of Limbo, one of the OG New Mutants, Ileana Rasputin, aka Magic, and comparing death to Limbo speaks a lot on how potent his character and ability is supposed to be. There's a reason he's paired up against Magic here. Jumping to Psylocke issue 7, it does a phenomenal job at showcasing Hotoru's ability, both in terms of his overall potential in terms of power, as well as his current limitations. One of those limitations is the fact that if Hotoru ends up encountering a strong enough will, a strong enough presence on the another side, he can straight up get possessed. He can get overwhelmed in his own mindscape, leading to what we're seeing, a rampage. Look who he's fighting here. Rogue, Psylocke, and Magic. Granted, they're definitely not here to do grievous harm to Hotoru. They're obviously holding him back, but the fact that in order to subdue him, it takes these three heavy hitters to do so, again, speaks a lot for his power potential, especially when he learns to control this. We see him resist magic. We see him resist telepathy. We see him resist magic negation, showing that this is true death he's connected to, and not just some random mystical source. In other words, out of the four, Deathdream is the powerhouse. Granted, is uncontrollable and he's the most unexperienced because, again, he's the youngest of the group. This still leaves a lot of room for growth, a lot of room for potential that this series is touching on. I do want to dive back into that whole character aspect because with Hotoru being the youngest of the group, that is one of the main characteristics that they end up playing with when it comes to his portrayal of his character. Being the mutant with the deepest and darkest power, they counteract that. Its contrast is the fact that he is some of the most lighthearted and childish in nature. All he really wants to do is eat good food. I'll get more into this scene later when I touch on the whole group dynamic because this is one of the first times they actually work together as a team. Should keep these minds of these character traits you're seeing from Hotoru. He's recessive, he's submissive, he's not very upfront, vocal, or blunt. That is all Ransom, but I'll get into that more into his character analysis later in this video. But what's important here is because Ransom is everything that Hotoru isn't or desires to be, he looks up to him like a brother. And that dynamic, being considered genuine family to someone, having someone care about you to the deepest depths of their heart, being someone's little brother is all Hotoru ever wanted to gain. This is the first time he is happy, genuinely excited, and desires to be alive. I want y'all to realize how messed up Deathdream's psyche was until meeting these X-Men. Imagine the very first day you're ever born, you die, and countless times after you have to repeat that process, not voluntarily, but obviously some circumstances happen that leads into those things. That's not good for the psyche, that's not good for the mental. And we see this a lot when it comes to Hotoru wanting things, desiring things, having a stable connection with things. And that's why having family, having a pet he can call his own is so important for him. The moment he thought old boy was he started going ballistic. Deadpool separated Hotoru from one of the few things that gave him true solace, and because of this, it unleashed a rage so powerful that it damn near trumps anything we've seen before him. But there's a difference. But prior to this, it was uncontrollable. The power of death was able to overwhelm him, but despite being in this powerful state, guess what? Deathdream developed. Deathdream has managed to gain control over the form that he was so worried about his entire life. This is because of the familial bond that he was able to gain. This is because he became an X-Man. I find it funny playing into Hotoru's childlike nature. The thing that ends up calming him down, bringing him back to a suppressed state, is hot chocolate. And he gets to see his dogs okay. But that hot chocolate with marshmallows in them, that's what he wanted, bruh. Deathdream is the perfect showcase of the ideologies and duality of life and death. The character who has felt nothing but death, the depression and darkness that comes from such a force, is the one that desires life the most. It desires the brightness and joy that comes with what's being alive. And thanks again, I want to keep reiterating this, his family in the Uncanny X, when he is able to finally find that feeling. Him crying in the mirror to himself it is a layer of shedding off of himself, a wall that he built because of the suffering he's been dealing with since, again, his very birth. He was finally able to let go. He was finally able to be Hotoru again. I don't want y'all to get twisted. I keep mentioning the childlike nature and the prospects of his character like that, but I want you to keep in mind that that too is a duality, because where he can be gleeful, joyful, etc., etc., he's able to completely be serious, stern, as hard as a rock even. See this exactly when he's the one leading the team. One of the best aspects of this small interaction, he's the one leading the team to a aspect of lore that only he would be able to be tied to, because he's the only one out of the four that transitions to different realms. He's the one that would be the most familiar with the fear of the man thing, and someone who grew up in such an isolated, cold thing. Again, that sternness, that aspect of death shines greatly here, because what point is there fear if you don't fear death itself? That's crazy. Now, like I knew at the very start of this video, Hotoru is easily my favorite out of the four. I love his power set. I love his character dynamic in terms of his independence as a character, as well as his interaction with others. And genuinely, I believe I know Marvel might not do this. I genuinely believe that Hotoru, Deathdream, should become an Omega level mutant in the future. I'm tired of all these old gen mutants becoming Omega levels. Let's get an actual, genuinely new Omega level. And Deathdream having death-based powers would be perfect, because that's completely unique to him and Apocalypse's son, Death. This power set's not really that versed out, and it would be perfect to have someone like that be pushed up into that Omega level status. But with Hotoru, this analysis for him coming to an end, we can now touch on what I would consider his big brother, the person leading him, his mentor, Ransom.